Now, this day, 15 years ago, the 3rd of May 2007, marked the disappearance of Madeleine McCann, the 3-year-old British girl, went missing from Praia de Luz in Portugal, where she was on holidays with her family, with her parents, Kate and Jerry, and it sparked a global manhunt and a huge amount of media attention at the time, and it has to be said, since. All 15 years, I don't think she has ever been far away from the public consciousness. Robynn Swan is the co-author of Looking for Madeline. Robynn, you're very welcome to the show. I don't think there's any need for you to remind us of the circumstances of her disappearance. Everybody will be well aware of them at this stage. So instead, I might ask you to remind us of what the initial lines of inquiry were from authorities.
In those first few days after the attack, after Madeline disappeared, there was a suspicion that she was just a missing child, maybe wandered off. The Portuguese police didn't preserve the scene on the night, so what should have been a crime scene was trampled all over by searchers, even dogs and others who were brought into the apartment to look for Madeline. Then, very quickly, a neighbor of the Ocean Club became a suspect, a man who'd been offering translation services. And then, within a matter of a month or two, Madeline's own parents became suspects, and they were considered suspects by the Portuguese police for a number of months until they, too, were eventually cleared. Then the case went dead, and then in 2011, it was revived under the auspices of the British Metropolitan Police Force, Operation Grange, and later by the Portuguese, and finally, in 2020, by German police.
And explain to us the circumstances which led to German police getting involved.
Well, at some point in about 2013, it's believed, a man who has been suspected of crimes against other children, who had been involved in petty crime in the Algarve, and who was suspected of a rape involving an elderly American holidaymaker, was mentioned by a friend to German police as having bragged about the disappearance of Madeline and having claimed he knew what had happened to her. And that sparked German police interest. Subsequently, that man was returned to Germany from Italy, where he was located, and jailed, having been convicted of an earlier drug-related crime and then convicted of the rape of the American tourist. Since that time, he's become the prime suspect in the disappearance of Madeline.
So what do we know about this man?
Well, we know that the man has been convicted of other sexual crimes against children. We also know that he's a violent sexual predator. He is suspected now in a violent sex attack on an young Irish woman, and that crime is currently under investigation. The attack on that young Irish woman and the attack on the American pensioner have some intriguing similarities in terms of their modus operandi. What my co-author and I also discovered was that there was a sexual predator working the coast around Praia de Luz at that time, operating against the children of expatriates, and at least one case, part of the modus operandi that person used was also similar to the cases of the rapes. So there's some circumstantial evidence there that we may point a finger at the German suspect, Christian B., as he is known. Most telling, his mobile phone was in use in Praia de Luz that night within about an hour of the time frame in which young Madeline disappeared. And that is the most significant piece of actual evidence that has emerged. And
what is he saying? Has he been interviewed by British police, by Portuguese police?
Well, it's interesting. Up until this time, the Germans first pointed the finger at him back in 2020 because they wanted to gather more evidence against him to make their case. In all that time, he had never been questioned. Then last week, because the 15-year statute of limitations for prosecuting someone for this crime was approaching, and because for some reasons of their own, and we're not quite sure what they are, the Portuguese made Christian B. an official suspect in their own investigation. They classified him as an arguido. And that is interesting.
I mean, it's distasteful in one sense, Robynn, isn't it, to think about a hierarchy of victims, but 15 years on, there's still so much interest in Madeleine McCann and what happened to her.
There is, and I'm not. It's one of those things, because the public cares about Madeline doesn't mean they don't care about others who go missing. I think there is a great deal of there but for the grace of God go I in what people see in the McCann case. Ordinary family on holiday in a safe place in the sunshine, thinking they're doing all the right things, lulled into that false sense of security we all have on holiday, and a disaster happens. And I think a lot of people can relate to that.
Yeah, as I said, it is 15 years to the day since Madeleine McCann went missing. The 3rd of May 2007. Investigations ongoing, but as Robyn says, the prime suspect at the moment, this individual, Christian B, and he is serving time in German prison, but we will see where that investigation goes in the coming months. Robynn Swan is the co-author of Looking for Madeline. Robyn, thanks a million for joining us here on the show.